guess creating content that's going to help grow an audience is something that every media company is trying to figure out. Like TMR, we're trying to figure it out too. You mentioned, Matt, you said post consistently is a good tip, and be genuine is a good tip. But any other tips about, if people hear your story are inspired and want to maybe follow a similar road, any tips about growing an audience or pushing subscribers or just, getting bigger on YouTube in general?
Yeah, it will sound counterintuitive, but I'm dead serious when I say don't hyper focus on the numbers. Don't worry so much about those. Figure out what your long-term goal is and see how you're doing achieving that. And what I mean is when anyone starts a YouTube channel, everyone knows about subscribers with YouTube, right? That's what everyone taught when they find out we do a YouTube. Oh, how many subscribers do you have? Look, to be honest, subscribers is mostly a vanity number. That is just kind of that upfront, it's your handshake, it's your smile. This is who I am, first impression kind of thing. But that actually isn't the biggest metric when it comes to determining your overall viewership and your monetization and things like that. So I think when you're starting out, try not to focus on, oh, I have this number or I want to get to this number. Oftentimes you'll end up disappointed, or even if you do hit the goals you had, you will start to kind of quickly slide your expectations to where you feel like you're constantly trying to achieve something else. So I think it's good to try to be measured with it and say, my goal isn't to have this many subscribers. My goal is to drive this much viewership through the channel to this amount of business. Something more along those lines. And the other tip I would give is to remain focused on yourself and your channel. Try not to compare yourself to others because that's really never going to do you any good. It can do a lot of harm, and we witnessed that with others. You don't need to focus on what other people are doing. Just do things yourself, give it your best effort, be honest and genuine, like I said, and see what the feedback tells you, see what the analytics tell you, and then go based off of that, not so much what others are doing. And then one last final quick thing is people always ask about equipment. Do I need to go out and buy a bunch of fancy equipment? I would not. Most people have one of these, a smartphone nowadays, and it has a great camera on it. And that's really all you need for most things you're going to be starting to do. We talked about this earlier in the week, but I'll tell everyone here now. Try to get it as stable as you can, your video, and try to make sure your audio is decent. It's listenable. It doesn't have a bunch of wind noise or something like that in it. And that right there is a baseline you can ride for a long time. Now, as you get more successful, if you want to expand your editing or you want to get better equipment, by all means. But just to get started, if you can hit those couple of baseline things, you'll be good to go.
All right. And then I guess just to finish that thought, Matt, because you brought it up, but the equipment you mentioned you have now, aside, you have a gimbal for your phone you mentioned, and then you have a couple mics that would help improve the audio a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly right. And the gimbal I only use when I'm doing like a ship tour, when I'm going to be filming for hours, 3 or 4 hours, walking around an entire ship, showing everything. Honestly, it just helps me, not even so much with stabilization. The phones are so great at that, but just to make sure I'm not turning too quickly or something. It will help you keep paced and measured. And then the mics are great because they obviously will improve audio quality. We don't even use those on our, vlogs or daily videos. The built-in audio typically is fine. But for us, when we're on a cruise ship, I mentioned this before, there's a lot of wind, or if you're at an all-inclusive resort with a beach, there's a lot of wind, and wind will kill audio quicker than anything else. So having a nice mic with a wind muff on it will do you wonders in that regard.
All right. So we have a ton of questions in the chat. We're going to hopefully tackle these one at a time. And then I have also a lot more for you, Matt, too.
Let's do it.
Um, so this is one I wanted to ask as well. I know video editing is a skill. I know it's something a lot of people train formally for. I know a lot of people train informally as well. It's also something that seems kind of intimidating if you haven't done it before. I'm curious, what was the situation with video editing, Matt? Like Amy asks, do you edit your own videos, and how much time do you dedicate it if you do?
Yeah, so we do edit our own videos. Chelsea does all of the editing. I've never done any of it, so she would be a bit better to speak to that. But we're in tune enough that I can definitely answer the question. So she's self-taught. That she had no background in video editing when we started this. She basically went on and we have a thunderstorm. Welcome to Florida virtually for everyone who's not aware. Hopefully we stay on here. That was a loud boom, but She was self-taught with that. So when we started, she just started doing research about how to video edit and what programs were best. I think we utilized whatever we had initially, which I believe was iMovie, just because we tend to use Mac products, but then have now switched over to Adobe Premiere. And she just would watch YouTube videos or read website blogs. Yeah, so completely self-taught on that. Just did research by watching YouTube videos or reading website posts about how to utilize it and how to use the system. And it can be quite intimidating when you get started. Even for someone who's really into tech, I like tech stuff. I look at a video editing software and go, what is all of this? It can be quite intimidating, but luckily when you get started, if you're doing basic editing, basic cuts and stuff, a lot of these programs will kind of walk you through it. It's a lot more intuitive than it used to be. So getting started, I wouldn't let it scare you off. Just dedicate some time to trying to learn it, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, and so somebody asked. He mentioned iMovie. He mentioned Adobe Premiere. Now I know iMovie is the free software that comes with Mac. I know a lot of people use CapCut, which is a free version too, and that's like TikTok, but it also is a desktop version that you can edit longer videos. So there's a lot of. I don't think anyone's discriminatory when it comes to video editing software. All right, so we have another question, Matt. I guess when you were gone, you were mentioning what you post. Um, One guest asked any suggestions on what else you might be of interest other than posting about where you go. He or she says, I have a channel, but haven't had a chance to go on any trips yet. I mean, do you and Chelsea post exclusively vacation or trip content, or do you do like daily day of the life sort of things like that?
So it's majority trip-based content. We don't do personal videos of any kind, but to answer the question there, you can definitely do content that's not on location kind of stuff. A perfect example is just whether it be advice or kind of a here's 5 things you need to know, or what to not do before your cruise, what I wish I would have known before I went to my first all-inclusive resort. All of those things can be
Yeah.
filmed in your home, a home office, or in a nice location. Is it better if you have what we call B-roll, kind of those shots of the place you're talking about? Sure. I mean, just to kind of break it up, it makes it a little bit more interesting, but you can put little clips or little art or whatever up above and superimpose it over your video. And I do that. I have a recurring series called TA Talk, Travel Agent Talk, that I've done probably, I don't know, 12 to 15 videos in that series now, where I just as my day in the life of a travel agent, I keep seeing these questions repeated or these issues coming up over and over again. So I'll make a video dedicated about that. Here's the number one mistake people are making when booking their cruise, or here's what you need to know about cruise line promotions, whatever it might be. So you can do that content from anywhere. Yeah, ideally you would have content from on location, but you don't have to. You can certainly do things from home.